98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
Good morning. It's 8:05 on Mid-Columbia Today. It is a Tuesday morning, the 4th of August. Cameron Eisenberg's producing. Thank you for being with us today. First part of the show, Cindy Thieman is going to be with us. Hood River Watershed Group. Second half of the show, Debby Jones, Wasco County YouthThink will join us. Hopefully you're not planning on breathing today. SmokeReadyGorge.org. A good place you can go to get the air quality index. I just checked it again before we took to the show live here. If you're listening on the podcast, obviously this doesn't apply. But 160 to 180 air quality index throughout the gorge this morning. And what that means is, according to the key they have for it, some members of the general public may experience health effects with 24 hours of exposure. Members of sensitive groups may experience more serious health effects. In other words, there's a lot of smoke out there. And probably you should try to be as exposed to as little as possible. I guess you're looking for a shred of good news today on this. It is that it doesn't appear the east winds in much of the gorge are going to be nearly as strong as were originally forecast a day or two ago. There is still a red flag warning for the western part of the gorge. That's the Stevenson Cascade Locks area, west of Hood River. East winds getting up above 20 miles per hour. Elsewhere, that does not appear to be the case, but that still doesn't mean we don't have higher fire danger. We do. It's not good out there. So still, we talked yesterday with County Sheriff Matt English, Hood River County Sheriff Matt English. We're on level 1 all the time at this point. Everybody, to be ready. So be careful out there. Anyway, we told you what we're going to do. Let's tell you what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. This day in 1790, the Coast Guard had its beginnings as President George Washington signed a measure authorizing a group of revenue cutters to enforce tariff and trade laws and prevent smuggling. Hence, today is Coast Guard Day out there. Of course, they've also evolved into the search and rescue group they are in our waters. 1936, Jesse Owens of the U.S. won the second of his 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics as he prevailed in the long jump over German Lutz Long, who was the first to congratulate him. 1944, 15-year-old diarist Anne Frank was arrested with her sister, parents, and 4 others by the Gestapo after hiding for 2 years inside a building in Amsterdam. Anne and her sister Margot died at the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. 1964, 44 days after their murders, the bodies of missing civil rights workers James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner were found buried in an earthen dam in Mississippi. 1977, President Jimmy Carter signed a measure establishing the Department of Energy. 1987, the FCC voted 4-0 to abolish the Fairness Doctrine, which required radio and TV stations to present balanced coverage of controversial issues. The argument was that there were enough varied sources to not require this. 40 years later, I'm not sure how great a move this has been for anybody. Which puts me at odds, by the way, with a lot in the broadcasting brethren. But this is kind of gave rise to a lot of what's gone on in the media since then. There was an argument at the time to be made for it. But times have changed again. And what this clearly didn't foresee was the ability of the internet to be able to spread information both in a good manner and, quite frankly, also, this seems to be primarily in a bad manner. Okay, I'll stop. This day in 2020, nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate that had been improperly stored for years in the port of Beirut, Lebanon, exploded, killing more than 200 people, injuring more than 7,000, and devastating nearby neighborhoods. It was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions ever recorded. 2017, former pharmaceutical CEO Martin Shkreli, who became notorious for a price gouging scandal, was convicted on federal charges that he deceived investors in a pair of failed hedge funds. Shkreli was later sentenced to 7 years in prison. He was released in 2022. If you ever saw video of this guy leading up to that sentence, you would almost unanimously out there believe this guy should have been sent for a whole lot longer than he was. This was really just an awful person as far as I was concerned. Just truly didn't care about others. Just how much money could I accumulate? Well, I got some opinions today, apparently. I guess it's the smoke. 2019, a masked gunman fired on revelers enjoying summer nightlife in a popular entertainment district of Dayton, Ohio, leaving 9 people dead and 27 wounded. Police said officers shot and killed the shooter within 30 seconds of the start of his rampage. Here's our days for today. It's Assistance Dog Day today. We salute all the great service dogs out there. It is a national night out. This is done by a lot of law enforcement agencies to get people out in the evening. And they're going to do this at Stevenson, near the Sheriff's Office on Vancouver Avenue from 6 to 8 this evening, and at City Park in the Dalles tonight from 6 to 8. It is a Single Working Women's Day today, so we salute all of them. My mom, for a time, was one of those, so I have a complete understanding of how difficult that is. Or for a single working man, I'll throw that in, too. It's also Hooray for Kids Day today. So hooray for kids. We had the solar storms on yesterday. We probably should have done that yesterday. Our food and drink today, it's National White Wine Day today, so celebrate responsibly out there. And the one I should have just done and left everything else out we've just done here. It's National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day today. Now, normally I would try to leverage this into me getting some cookies at home, but the reality is 90-degree smoky weather is not really when you want to be baking, so I'm not going to do that. There are some stores that will sell you some baked chocolate chip cookies that fresh baked that will work just fine. So there you go for what it's worth. May not be a whole lot. Except for the Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. That is worth a lot. It is 8:11 in the morning. We'll come back after this.
Let Asset, Advanced Security and Electrical Technology, introduce you to the cloud. No, not that kind of cloud. Cloud-based security systems. Let's face it, we all know the term cloud and what it is, but the people at Asset will use it to your advantage. Cloud cameras, cloud access control, cloud intrusion alarms. How does this benefit you? It'll centralize data security, eliminate the need for on-premises infrastructure, make backup and recovery easier, and a whole lot more. Asset isn't a 1-800 number place that you call. They're a local company. They live here too. And if you need video surveillance, access control, fire alarms, you name it, Asset will help create it and install a security solution that's perfect for you, including cloud-based security. Asset, your local connection to the cloud. Just not that kind of cloud. To find out more, visit asetinc.com and stay local. Asset, Advanced Security and Electrical Technology.
At Ground Coffee, we wake up every morning to make our famous breakfast sandwiches and lunches. Everything is made to order from scratch. We even roast our own coffee. Do you or someone you know need work? At Ground Coffee, we are hiring baristas to work with our awesome team. We pay well and the tips are great. And what I love about working here is my hours are flexible so I can enjoy life and work at a great place. Is it time for you to get back into the workforce? Because we're ready for you. Call us or stop in and introduce yourself. Ground Coffee in Hood River. Come work for us.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bi-Coastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
Cindy Thieman from the Hood River Watershed Group's here. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Mark.
Well, thank you for coming in again. We appreciate it on this smoky Tuesday morning around the air. Sounds like we're probably going to have this for a little while, too, just based on the lack of wind patterns.
Yeah, although for some reason I'm seeing clear skies at the end of this week, according to NWS, but we'll see.
Okay, yeah, well, we will see. What happens there. The east wind is much calmer than was expected to be today.
Yeah.
Hopefully that forecast is going to stay that way.
Yeah.
The rest of the way. But while we have a chance here, let's talk about watersheds and fire, because I on occasion we've had fires like the Bull Run watershed, which is so important to Portland, and it causes consternation. Obviously infrastructure, fire is a problem. But when we talk about the health of a watershed in of itself, what does fire do?
Ooh, that is a big question.
Yeah.
So across the board, you wouldn't say that fire is bad for a watershed, for example. You would not say that. I think most of us know that the forests, the ecology around here evolved with fire, and that fire suppression for the past over 100 years has led to an imbalance in our in stand composition, forest stand composition. So we do have higher intensity fires than we used to. So across the board, we wouldn't want our watershed to, half of it to burn over with a high intensity fire. That, I think we could all agree that
Sure.
would not be good. Patchy fire, where even in you look at the Eagle Creek fire was bad, but it did have some patchiness to it. I should say it was a severe fire, but if you're thinking about it just from the stream and fisheries perspective, we had a presentation. It was like 3-4 years after the Eagle Creek fire, the Forest Service had collected data on fish response and amount of large wood in the creeks in that basin, in those tributaries, and wood can go up. And as some of your listeners who listen all the time might know, we've talked about wood in stream, that we're adding wood into streams, and that's a good thing. So there can be, and there were definitely also studies that had the same findings in the Wenatchee area, the Metro Valley, where they've done a lot of habitat restoration. And so adding, wood or fire is a disturbance, and some amount of disturbance is a positive thing for in-stream habitat, because it adds more wood. Sometimes it'll add more, if you get some amount of slope failure and you get more material, like sort of gravels and cobbles in the stream that wash down, that is all part of the cycle that keeps streams and rivers dynamic and kind of keeps the habitat refreshed in a sense.
Yeah.
But too much isn't good. So it's a matter of balance.
Yeah, I guess the way I had it explained to me in science classes in college many years ago was that in nature, fire is a bit cleansing for the land, in that it removes some of the residue of what's been there before, but it also can be restorative in nature to allow, and we've seen this with the Eagle Creek fire, to allow fresh starts to grow. And the Eagle Creek fire, when you drive out there, I know there are people who are really experts in that, who can tell where things have happened.
Yeah.
But to the layperson like me, like when you're just driving on the freeway, et cetera, going through, there's not a lot there to tell you 8 years later or so that the Eagle Creek fire happened, because it's very, again, you're probably more of an expert, obviously.
Well, I mean, and I am not a fire expert. I participate in the Hood River Forest Collaborative, and so we do get the benefit of a lot of great talks.
Which makes that automatically you are above me on this. You proved the point on that.
I do see a lot of gray, standing, dead trees as that we're, driving on the gorge, and I think that the severity. I went to a talk. There was quite a number of talks after that fire that we had locally, and one of the sort of revered forest scientists in our region came to talk. I'm blanking on his name, of course, but but he made the point that really stuck in my head, that he's like, that forest didn't need to burn. It was an old, some fires, like some of our east side forests, they need to burn to maintain optimal health. They need low intensity, fire. But our west side forests, the moist mixed conifer forests, they don't need to burn that often. And it would have been just fine if that hadn't happened for that forest.
And it was not a naturally caused fire. We should know.
Right.
It was not naturally caused, as we well know. So I guess curling back to the water itself, the watershed, I would imagine that People, I think, when they hear about this in the news, I'll throw myself in there, we immediately think about the watersheds where we get our drinking water from.
Yeah.
Does what fire can impact differ in these cases? Like you work with the habitats where you're encouraging fish species to be able to restore themselves, etc. Does the amount of fire maybe differ in that case as far as what's good and what's not?
And this is me speculating here,
Okay.
going out on a burning limb.
Okay.
No, that I think that, like I said before, some amount of fire, sort of the fire that we would have expected, that us, the species that evolved here and evolved with fire. So the amount of fire that was here historically led to conditions that were, on average, good. And drinking water, I'm speculating here that, some amount of a drainage that generates our drinking water as a source of our drinking water can be just fine with, fire. I mean, but, if the whole Dalles watershed burned up, if the whole Bull Run watershed,
that'd be bad.
If the source, that wouldn't be great.
No.
There certainly for some period of time, I think sediment really is the concern, and particulates.
I'm going to move on to something else. We're going to go to the main stem Hood River because you guys have a project going there. I guess, first of all, is the project impacted by all these smoky conditions, or can you keep going?
We have been able to keep going. We did receive a waiver from Oregon Department of Forestry to continue work. We have water trucks there, a water truck there. We're right next to the river. So the crew that's doing the project is incredibly vigilant. They do a fire watch at the end. So no, we've been able to keep working. I do worry about the yesterday and today, and about sort of just health of being outside, and everybody else who has to work outside. All the the people who are picking pears right now.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the orchard's good point. But let's talk about what you're trying to do. You're up on I think you said River Mile 3.
Yeah,
on the
we're
Hood.
at River Mile 3, a little ways down from, about a mile down from where the Powerdale Dam used to be. And it's an area where the old penstock pipeline used to go through to send water down to the powerhouse. And, over 100 years ago or so, they put in a berms along the river there to protect that pipeline, so that they didn't want flooding into the floodplain on that western side of the river. So we're doing some reversal of that effectively. We're trying to restore the floodplain so that Hood River, so that the river, the water will interact with that floodplain more frequently. And we're going so far in this case as to actually recreating a perennial side channel. So perennial being, so it's a side channel that flows year round. There's an example that's on the site of a kind of a year-round short side channel that we see coho spawning every year. It's a great refuge for fish that sort of younger fish, juvenile fish that aren't as big as kind of like the adult fish that are finding the main stem. So it's refuge for and more habitat to provide that broader availability. Just different habitat types for the different fish species. And it's not just salmon and steelhead. There's, we have other native fish. And it's coming along well. And it's exciting. Unfortunately, it's not a project that the public can really see, but we will post things on our website. We have an Instagram site that we're posting, of progress on the project.
Well, I assume that's because the project probably isn't on the main highway.
That is correct. Yep, it is on, and you have to go through private land to get there. Is one problem. It's on land owned by Columbia Land Trust. They've been great partners, and other partners on the project include the Warm Springs Tribes. We've got funding from Bonneville Power Administration and Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board.
So how much of a length of the river are we talking about here?
Oh gosh.
Okay.
So I think it might be a half-mile footprint.
Yeah.
Oh, I should know that, but it's something in that. In
Okay.
that, it's not a. I don't think it's quite a mile, but
Okay.
but it might be somewhere in that range. And we're adding wood into that side channel.
When you do when you approach a project like this, when you're trying to decide where to go,
Yeah.
what sort of I'll use the word criterion, though it probably isn't the right word.
No, that is the perfect. That is the perfect word.
What criteria do you pick to find? Because obviously you can't do the whole length of the Hood River.
Right.
Where do you find that optimal spot?
Yeah, there's only so many places along the main stem Hood River, and I say the Hood River is a relatively short, steep watershed compared to others in the region. And one of the things that comes along with that is there's not as much like floodplain. You think about the Deschutes, where you drive along there, and see how there's just a lot of floodplain. It's not very steep, so that affords more the river coming out into its floodplain more.
Yeah.
There's just more habitat there. It's one of the reasons that river has way more productivity, and from a salmon and steelhead perspective, is just there's just more habitat. And so we look for areas on the main stem, let's just say, of the our Hood River, that you it's just feasible logistically to reconnect some of the floodplain. There's former floodplain to reconnect.
Well, I imagine there in some locations dealing with property issues. And
There's property issues as well, absolutely, because almost all of our projects are on private land.
Even though you seem to have had good success over the years with landowners,
we have
being able to do these projects. I imagine there's some benefit there as well for those folks. Is in terms of being,
sometimes if it's let's say somebody's got a culvert that doesn't pass fish, and then we replace that culvert with a better culvert, that there's kind of a direct benefit there. That doesn't happen that often. Yeah. I would say most of the time these landowners are just supportive of improving habitat for fish and wildlife.
And I would imagine terrain enters into it to an extent.
Yeah, and that's the point about can you reconnect the floodplain?
Sure.
Does it work? Do you have low-lying ground next to the river?
Mm-hmm. I always ask this with a lot of different things, but determining success, I imagine it takes a little while.
Yeah.
After even you do the work, for the natural results to come in.
Yeah. And we have a pretty robust monitoring program with our partners. So the tribes and our staff are out there after projects, going up the stream, measuring amounts of wood, looking at the kind of gravels and cobbles, kind of the relative proportion in the streams. We also have been using more recently drone imagery and light, like LiDAR. So we're looking at changes in topography before and after. And we also have to wait for a big event. So like last winter's events had an amazing effect on our project that we did last year on the East Fork Hood River, because we had the river these projects are designed, and by the way, this project we're doing this summer was designed by our local restoration engineering company, Interfluve. So that was kind of cool that worked out. So anyway, they design it for to work with the river processes, and sometimes you have to wait for a big event to fully see the effects of that you're going for in a project.
This is on the main stem Hood River. Are there other locations that are identified as potential next spots?
Yeah, and like we talked about, next spot for sure on the main stem Hood River is the Powerdale.
Sure.
Is we're removing the powerhouse and kind of improving the habitat in that spot. We are also going to be doing some work likely up on the West Fork Hood River, up on Forest Service land in a couple years. Another one we're seeking funding for, and this isn't a habitat project so much, but the East Fork Irrigation District needs to replace their fish screens. And so
I think we talked about that back in the springtime with them.
Yeah, could be when Steve was in here. Yeah. So that is coming up. Those are the projects that we have in the hopper.
Mm-hmm. So how long does it take to do this project you get going now? Huh?
Well, we started. I think they mobilized their equipment like the second week. I think that the second week of July we started. We started before July 15th. July 15th is when we could kind of start in water, so to speak, which is kind of within the natural flood, kind of where ordinary water is. Yeah.
When I hear about when you can do in water work, I think about covering the bridge issues right now, and they've got the window they've got hit for in water work. Do you guys have the same issues?
Yeah. So it's like July 15th to August 15th is our in water work window. Generally speaking, in the Hood, that's for most of the watershed.
So this is kind of you're in a critical period right now for this current project to get things as far along as you can. I guess.
Yeah, it's really challenging because yes, it is a big challenge of these project types.
8:31. We're already past half hour. I need to run here. Cindy Thieman, Hood River Watershed Group. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Mark.
And we will come back, take a look at the news right after this.
Gorge homeowners, is your old AC costing you more than a new one would? If your system is over 15 years old, the answer is probably yes. A new energy-efficient AC from Sky Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Electrical means lower utility bills. Plus, Sky technicians make the whole process easy, from a free home assessment to same-day quotes. With financing available and HVAC system payments as low as $119 a month, there's no reason to put it off. Schedule now at skyheating.com. CCB number 245538.
Sky Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Electrical.
Looking for a career that gives you freedom, flexibility, and long-term job security? Gorge Academy's Fall Term Massage Therapy Program starts September 14th. You can complete your training in just 6 months and only 3 days a week. Small class sizes, hands-on instruction, and outstanding 98% graduation rate. You'll get the support you need to be successful in a human-centered, AI-proof career. Enrollment closes August 14th, so don't wait. Visit gorgeacademy.com for program details on our upcoming massage therapy program.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the Gorge's local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
Good morning at 8:33 as we continue along on Mid-Columbia Today. In the news right now, Wasco County Sheriff's Office said yesterday some evacuation levels for the Grasshopper fire were lowered as crews strengthen control lines and expand mop-up operations along the fire's southern perimeter. 17% containment figure heading into the night, 31,571-acre fire. Level 3 was reduced to Level 2 for Womack, Pine Hollow, and Sportsman's Park. Now, the question was going to be how strong the east winds get in that Grasshopper fire area, and we'll test the west side of the fire. Also, of course, you got the high temperatures and low humidity. Hood River County is right now having Level 3 go now evacuation advisories in place near the fire. Those are primarily locations. They're heavily forested, and it was in the event people were recreating there. It wasn't about people who were living in that area. Last report, Hood River County, Level 2 gets set for Elk Mountain and Mill Creek Buttes area, and Level 1 be ready for Cooper Spurs south of Culbertson Road and Gibson Prairie. Firefighters contained a brush fire Monday at the Port of the Dallas Port on East Dock Road near the old log deck. According to the Dallas Port Murdoch Volunteer Fire Department, the fire started when a front end loader caught fire. Flames spread from the equipment to a large pile of old sawdust and bark chips before extending into nearby dry grass and brush. Firefighters also reported hearing several explosions believed to have been caused by the loader's tires and fuel barrels involved in the fire. Dallasport crews arrived quickly, began attacking the fire with numerous other agencies coming in to assist. Fire crews worked together to contain the blaze and keep it from spreading. A Spokane man has been arrested on suspicion of starting one of the 3 major wildfires burning in eastern Washington. The Spokane County Sheriff's Office says 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci was booked Monday on a charge of first-degree arson in connection with the Old Trails fire, the largest of the 3 blazes. His bail said $1 million. Authorities say a tip from a citizen helped lead investigators to Farinacci, who is scheduled to make his first court appearance today. Court records showing a previous felony manslaughter conviction in Arizona. Hood River County Commission held a nearly 2-hour brainstorming session focused on revenue options as it deals with a short-term and long-term budget challenge. It was in the aftermath of receiving a report 2 weeks ago from consulting firm Baker Tilly on the county's operations and fiscal future. Commissioners asked staff to concentrate on 4 different possibilities, most notably a long-discussed prepared food and beverage tax concept, along with evaluating the feasibility of a permanent public safety district to remove that sector from the general fund and layering a county transient lodging tax into what is currently being collected. If the county wants to put a prepared food and beverage tax on the May 2027 ballot, they need to have it ready by February. And finally, a 19-year-old man from Kennewick has died after falling from a cliff near Punch Bowl Falls in the Eagle Creek drainage. The Hood River County Sheriff's Office's deputies were called just before 7:30 Saturday morning after another hiker reported the man had fallen between 50 and 80 feet from a cliff above the falls. Deputies, along with members of the Crag Rats, confirmed the man had died. Investigators say the victim had left the trail and was attempting to climb down the rock face to the base of the waterfall when he fell into the rocks below. Hood River County Sheriff's Office says the death has been ruled a tragic accident. Current temperatures, 66 in Stevenson, 63 in the Dalles, 64 in Hood River.
Hey, it's Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. You know those tall Sprinter vans that look like they could secretly double as apartments? Yeah, we work on those, and we know them really well. Whether it's your adventure rig, work van, or mystery mobile full of camping gear and snacks from 2022, we've got you covered. We're now just 10 minutes up the hill in our great new location in Hood River. Come see us. From Mercedes and Ford, big rigs to Sprinters, no jobs too big or small. At Del Carpine, we work on them all. Family owned and locally trusted.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
It is just about 8:40 in the morning. I want to mention here, because this just came out a few minutes ago, a quick update on the grasshopper fire from officials down there. Acreage is now listed 34,659, which I believe represents growth. It does, by about close to 3,000 acres. Containment's ticked up to 19%. It was 17%. They do have a red flag warning in effect for it. They've got critical fire weather expected down in that area. With the easterly winds in particular. They expect to have more on that coming up later on today. 1,264 personnel, by the way, are assigned to that fire on the Mount Hood National Forest. So a quick update on that so everybody knows kind of where we're sitting right now. And now we are going to be joined by, from YouthThink of Wasco County, Debby Jones. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Mark. Yeah, I mean, it was, I think, let's see, August 4th, so 2014 when we had the Mosier fire. So this is all, lots of unfortunate refreshers of what's going on. And
has it been that long since the oil train fire?
This was a different one.
Oh, a different one. Okay.
One that, right. I think it was 2014. Yeah, that now. And then, I don't know, people know that we were very blessed yesterday because we had a FedEx truck catch on fire right across from the golf course. And again, that could have easily started something bigger. And as people in the Rowena area are just kind of starting to finally get back to a tiny bit of normalcy. So I think that everybody, like, when they saw that the highway was closed, like, oh, no. So God bless those people that are doing this amazing work. They are incredible.
So you think in Wasco County, summertime's a little bit different for you guys, I know, because schools are out, so it's a little bit, different as far as, what the kids are doing right now. But what have you guys been up to?
Well, we're still involved in The More You Know. That's been our series of presentations to the community virtually. We have one coming up, not this Thursday, but the following, August 13th, from our partners, our friends from the Partnership to End Addiction, which again is a national organization. And we've been able to continue this series, and we actually, how this was funded was through local opioid settlement dollars. And we'd love to have more participation and attendance at those, but this month we're really looking at especially for parents, people who are in school providers, anyone that's a youth advocate, taking on the challenging topic of loneliness and isolation. And that seems to become, I think research will back it up, more apparent with, since we've had phones and our young people have gravitated to that. They feel like they have, 3,000 friends on whatever electronic device they have, but those aren't the things that really help us have those important connections that provide secure attachments. You can't really, no matter how much you try, get that same biological effect that helps us feel not so isolated and lonely. So we're going to take this on. This is important to YouthThink because, again, when we're talking about risk factors, protective factors, what are the things that research has told us that we know could make someone more susceptible to addiction down the road? And when people don't feel connected, when they're dealing with loneliness, depression, those type of things, it's not uncommon to just want to numb out and not have to deal with those kind of things. And substances are definitely a way to do that. So by kind of looking at these risk factors, why they happen, how, not getting too much into the pathology, so to speak, but helping care providers recognize signs, and then it's like, hey, we can do something about this. And a lot of the ideas, evidence-based ideas that they're going to share with us are things that don't cost money. It's a way to pay attention and a way to connect in. And it might be a perfect time, as school is right around the corner, for people to kind of get a little bit, okay, I'm going to be aware, because heading into school can be a time where isolation and loneliness can really tick in. So we hope people will join us. We're getting the information. I'm a little slow, and I apologize on that. We'll be getting it out on Facebook today, as well as emails and our website. How people we ask them to register just because we want to be able to send the recordings back. And it'll be next Thursday, the 13th at 6 p.m. And by noon today, they should be able to see it on our website and know how to sign up for it. So that's kind of our big thing. We're continuing also with the partnership to do a series which is we're calling Learn and Lead, and it's helping YouthThink reach out to more of our community to help them understand prevention science, and how as a community we can all be involved. It's just not a YouthThink thing. It's just we're trying to raise the awareness and about how everybody can start changing those community norms that are based more on strength and protective factors. So that's our big push. The other thing, we are going to be participating at the end of the month, August 31st, is International Overdose Awareness Day, and we are going to be partnering with One Community Health, Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, and just have an awareness event, kind of like a little resource fair, as well as a walk in remembrance and awareness for those that we've lost, and how we continue to want to take on the disease of addiction, and especially in this time of fentanyl. So that's a free event, and you'll start seeing information. I know Lapita has been working hard on that. So that's kind of some of the things that are coming up, this month. But our board continues to meet monthly, and we're looking at some restructuring to figure out how we can learn more from our community, to have them tell us, hey, these are the events, these are the information I want to have, and how we can do a better job of getting that word out. So community members, look for some surveys, different ways that you can tell us what we can do better.
I'm going to latch on to this loneliness subject a little bit here with kids. And, and this is going to be me going back, 50 years, I guess. I hate to say.
It's good that you can remember that far back.
Well, yeah, I have to admit that is a good thing. But, when I was a kid, we spend most of our summers out on the playground, on the ball field, etc., with our other young friends. Really didn't have adults around, just us, and so you made the connections that way, and you saw these people, close to every day. Sometimes kids were gone on vacation, etc. But you had this group, and you played together every day in doing things that I don't see anymore. And I can't help but think that's part of this. I mean, we point to the devices, and there is definitely a truth to the devices being an issue here. But part of me goes, we just don't let kids get out enough and explore the world.
I agree with you 100%. I think there's something too about if they are, it's that, hey, are they lonely, are they bored? There's something about that's like you first kind of recognize it, and it would, of course, in a day like today, you're not going to want your kids necessarily outside to play.
Yeah.
But coming over to someone's house, we don't do those things. And then when we are expecting this generation, and COVID impacted things, there's no doubt about that. But I think that's what we really try to do at YouthThink is sharing, even hearing, like what your experiences were, Mark, and the protective factors that you found in that with, hanging out with your friends, creative imaginations as far as, the things that you did play. And it is sad to not see, the Sandlot, or baseball and those type of things. I can tell you, because of my little viewpoint for where my office is, I have seen more kids coming down Court Street with fishing poles than I've ever seen over the last several years. But I think as parents and people that hang out with kids, care for them, encouraging that. I think sometimes we're scared, like, oh, can they be out of my sight? It's just kind of balancing that. But I think you're 100% right. And unintentionally, we're doing a disservice to our younger generation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know devices are an issue, because then we get into using devices to replace actual physical one-on-one human communication, which we've already, I think we've kind of established where that is an issue, haven't we?
Yes, and it's only getting, I think, greater with AI. I can tell you, I had my first real relationship with ChatGPT recently as I was trying to write a grant. And I tell you, I felt like I had a friend on the other side of the screen that knew and was trying to help me write this grant, and I was so appreciative of it. And luckily, some friends brought me back and said, okay, it's you're really missing the boat on some of these things, but your AI doesn't want to. It's supposed to be positive. A lot of our friends and people in our lives, they don't necessarily just always feed us, oh, you're great, and this is a great sentence, and these things. It's sometimes we get the hard stuff, like, that outfit goes together, or any of those things, and we're not used to that. And it's overwhewmingly scary to me when you hear about the high percentage of young people that they feel like they have a personal relationship with a chat bot. And it's like we can get scared of these things, or we can become aware, and we look for signs where, hey, maybe, my kid used to go out and do these things. They're not as much. I don't have to be freaked out and scared, but it's like I'm aware of, and it's like, oh, hey, let's make sure when we're in the car going somewhere, it's a no screen, not because screens are bad, but it's like I miss out on just having conversations and sharing what music we like and singing to those songs. There's all these opportunities that we've, excuse me, I think unintentionally, I don't think anyone's doing it on this purpose. We just get busy and we forget maybe really when it comes right down to it, what's most important. This will be more of like, hey, how is being lonely is actually a feeling, and it can sometimes be a good feeling because it's like, hey, I don't want to feel this way. Or maybe, what am I going to do with this time when I feel this way? Gives us a chance to kind of think about it in a little bit deeper level. But as caretakers, when do we see that loneliness turning into isolation, and it could be more harm and leading into riskier behaviors?
So again, the video chat and I say video chat, I'm not sure I'm getting this, but the Zoom meeting, or whatever we want to call it, August 13th at 6 o'clock, I believe, correct?
Yes. We go for an hour and 15 minutes content, pretty much for an hour, and then again, it's live, so we have live Q&A with these experts. And if it's it's like the subject matter is interesting, but you also want to ask these experts something else, that they're there for us. They've been a huge partnership. We're going to keep them connected with us, hopefully for another year. But we want to know, okay, what are the things that are keeping parents, keeping teachers, coaches, faith leaders up at night, that it's like, gosh, I really want to help the young people in my life, and this issue I'm not sure of. And if we can get on top of these things a little bit sooner, then they don't have to turn into these things that cause a lot of harm. Let's become more aware, and that's, again, why we call them the more you know, the more you're going to be able to help.
And again, you can go to youththink.net. It sounds like probably by noontime you're going to have all that up there for people to sign up.
As soon as I get off the phone, I'm going to get on this and then try and have the ones for the next several months so people can plan around them.
Debbie, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Debbie Jones from YouthThink, Owasco County, 854. We'll come back and wrap things up after this.
Big news from Downey's. Downey Sleep Center has officially merged with Downey Furniture, and now it's all simply Downey's. To celebrate, join us August 8th from noon to 5 for our grand reopening party. Enter now for your chance to win a Sealy Posturepedic Pro King Hybrid Mattress. Enjoy food, games, and circus demos. Great deals throughout both stores, too. So come join us this Saturday for the Downey's grand reopening party, noon to 5. Downey's believes community starts at home, and we're there to support it.
Join Aniche Sellers for the 9th annual Food for All, an evening where community comes together to make a difference. Friday, August 14th, starting at 4:30. Enjoy a celebration of everything local with incredible local food, award-winning wine, live music, and local art. Your support helps benefit Washington Gorge Action Program's Food Bank Network, serving more than 39% of residents across Skamania and Klickitat counties. Gather, give back, and celebrate local. Get your tickets now through the banner at wagap.org. Don't miss Food for All at Aniche Sellers.
Upgrading your home's heating doesn't have to be overwhelming. Hi, this is Kimberly. A&E Plumbing, Heating & Air's Great Northwest Series is a ducted heat pump designed for homes we see across Oregon and Washington. Whether you use gas or electric, the system adapts to your needs. It qualifies for Energy Trust of Oregon rebates and federal tax credits to keep money in your pocket. Plus, you get 12 years of parts and labor protection and 10-year financing at 2.99% with approved credit. Call A&E today to see what we can do for you. CCB number 203004.
Did you know Skyline Health in White Salmon has its very own sports medicine doc superstar? That's right. Dr. Ryan Petering trained at OHSU, cared for professional Nike athletes, and even spent more than 15 years teaching other doctors how it's done. From sporting injuries to arthritis, he's here to help you move better, feel stronger, and keep doing the things you love. Want to live life to its fullest? Step right up and visit myskylinehealth.org. Skyline Health, world-class care right here at home.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital and Del Carpine Automotive.
And it is 8:57 in the morning. I want to mention, I don't have any official update Hood River County Sheriff's Office yet, but I can tell you the Mount Hood Meadows is saying this, so I feel comfortable in putting this out there. Mount Hood Meadows apparently is now under level 3 go now evacuation because of the grasshopper fire. Being told that fire has been moving pretty much to the northwest. I mentioned earlier during the program, again, if you're listening on the podcast, this is probably dated, but we're just before 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, April the 4th. But the fire is active and moving to the northwest. Apparently it's at Badger Lake to the south, almost to Highway 35 in the north. So we will continue to keep an eye on that. I was also going to mention real quick, There's so much news, I didn't have a chance to mention. Today is the deadline for the ballots to be returned for the Washington primary election. Skamania County is only at 19.8% of ballots returned. Actually, let me go to my updated numbers. I got some this morning. Skamania County, as of Monday, 27.4% of ballots returned. Klickitat County, 20.3%. Washington statewide, only 19.9% of ballots returned to this point. Klickitat County's got the county commission and sheriff primaries going on with three-way races. You're going to have a candidate eliminated in each of those through this vote. So there are 13 drop boxes in Klickitat County. There are 7 in Skamania County. You get locations at both county websites. Again, everybody's way behind their pace of the similar election 4 years ago in 2022. So we urge you to take part and vote. It is important. We could get into the whys of why these ballots are coming in so slow. We could get into and when we know the number later on, when we get past the deadline, we probably can get into a little bit of, are people tuning out because it's become so unbelievably negative and frustration. But that'll be a topic for another day, because frankly, smoke and fire right now is our biggest problem. Tomorrow, Mike Shend on Families in the Park, and we'll talk the next door. For Cameron, I'm Mark. Talk to you then.
Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.